Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove football show. We've got college football picks. We've got a new coach in Virginia Tech and a current coach maybe looking for a new job. We'll discuss that as well as our NFL picks and our sole survivor righteous felon pick for this week as well. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove football show. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show on the Belly Up Sports Network and presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Get your stocking stuffers, and you can find the best ones ever at righteousfelon.com. The promo code STOVE15 will get you 15% off your purchase. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Well, doing real good. Like I said, the football season is drawn to the end here, so it's going to be real exciting, both college and the NFL. I don't think it's real predictable at this point, and I think that's good. I can remember a day when both college and the pros, there was 3 or 4 teams. That's who it was going to be, and not really as much the way it is anymore. So I like this.
All right. Well, let's talk about some college football to open our show today. James Franklin has a new job. He gets hired at Virginia Tech. Tech has some history. There is some football history there, Beamer ball and all those good days as well. To me, this is the perfect landing spot for James Franklin. He spent time at Vanderbilt, won games at Vanderbilt, looked good at Vanderbilt, went to Penn State, won a lot of games at Penn State, but could never really get over the hump there. So now he goes to the ACC, where the reality is there's not a lot of top-tier competition in the ACC these days. So I think it's a real good opportunity for him to go win a conference championship in the next year or two and make the playoffs and all that kind of good stuff too. And I think it's a good hire for Virginia Tech. As well, to be quite honest with you. I don't like James Franklin, but he's a good football coach. So I think it's a good hire. Great opportunity for him. Dad, what do you think about James Franklin's move to Virginia Tech?
Well, I'm not a James Franklin fan either from there. And we'll see how it works out for Virginia Tech. I think for him, this will be a little bit of a stepping stone. Again, you're right. The ACC, he can probably be real competitive there. He was in the SEC. He was in the Big Ten. But James Franklin, there's just something about him, in the back of your mind about everything. There was a little bit of trouble at Vanderbilt. He was able to skirt away from it, and some things there. Penn State, I guess, it went okay. So we will see. Virginia Tech's a program that, has had a decent program, I think, can be competitive in the ACC. It'll be interesting as college football continues to develop what happens with the ACC. But, he got a job real quick. He was probably one of the marquee names as coaches. I was thinking today about names and coaches, and as we get into it a little more, be real interested to see, some of these surprising teams. Indiana, of course, locked their coach up. Yeah. Today I was thinking, what about the Vanderbilt coach? Yeah. Is everybody going to make a move at him? And, we will see from there. But anyhow, we'll talk about coaches on another day, I'm sure.
Yeah. We had a couple schools lock up their coaches. One that has yet to do so is Ole Miss. Now, I know when you think of Lane Kiffin, you just think of loyal, tried and true. He's going to stick it out where he's at. But looks like he's going to have some opportunity if he wants it, both at Florida and at LSU. A lot more noise around Florida right now than LSU. But I look at this, Dad, and I look at Lane Kiffin. First of all, I do think he has grown some over the years. And I think he does have a good thing going at Ole Miss. I'm not sure that Florida is really that much of an upgrade over Ole Miss at this point. LSU would be, but Lane Kiffin, he likes the noise. He enjoys the drama, all those kinds of things. Some people say that Ole Miss has told him they need an answer by Saturday if he's going to stick with them or not. But everyone's saying that's not true. So we'll see what happens with all those kinds of things. But you talk about premier names out there right now. Even though he has a job, he's kind of the top name on the list, it seems like, at these SEC schools especially. So I don't know, Dad, what do you think is going to happen with Lane Kiffin? You think he sticks at Ole Miss and they give him a massive pay raise, or do you think he goes somewhere else?
Well, I read an interesting article a little bit more about him. Like you said, he probably has grown up some. This would be probably, it depends. I mean, the old Lane Kiffin, yeah, he's going to leave, and he'll leave Ole Miss during the playoffs, and it won't matter. But I don't know if he really is concerned about his reputation, then this is his chance to really solidify that. Ole Miss is a good spot. It's SEC school. He's been able to be competitive at Ole Miss. If you've got a school where you can be competitive, and with the rules the way they are now, I think it works. I know he's been one that's complained. Of course, all coaches want the field to be a little more even from there. But I think this has made him, give him the opportunity to be successful at Ole Miss. He can. I think he's probably a better college fit than a pro fit. So I don't know if he'll go back into the pros. But as far as college, he would not hurt himself by staying at Ole Miss. I mean, maybe financially a little bit, but Ole Miss is going to do everything they can. There's a lot of alumni, a lot of history there. It'll be interesting. The article I read said, if he leaves Ole Miss during the playoffs, which is what would happen probably if he did, then it will make Al Davis's comments come true. So that was what the article was about.
Yeah, when you look at Lane,
been through a lot. It looks like he's straightened some things out in his life. He's sobered up, interested in his family, and so if that's all true, then maybe he'll stay at Ole Miss. If not, I think Florida's probably the best fit for him in a lot of ways. But like you said, I'm not sure it's real advantageous. But Florida should be a place where you can go in and build a team real quick, and he obviously has shown he can go in and build a team. So I assume something will happen fairly quickly because of just the timing of how it's going to fall with the playoffs, with recruiting, the way the portal is, everything from there. Florida, LSU, can't wait forever either. So we will see. Not a Lane Kiffin fan, but he would go up a little bit in my book probably if he stays at Ole Miss.
I mean, we know Ole Miss is going to make the playoffs. They're a one-loss team right now, so if they lose to Mississippi State, it can't knock them out of the playoffs, I don't think. So I mean, I think they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs, and they should not lose to Mississippi State anyhow. So I just look at this and I go, I don't see it. Now again, I'm not there, so I don't know how his relationship is there. I don't know, all those kinds of stuff, but it makes sense for him to stick it out at Ole Miss. He's going to get more offers, in the future. Maybe he's got his eye on a specific job. Maybe he does have his eye back on the NFL. Who knows? But there's no reason for him to not this year stick with Ole Miss, in my opinion, at least. And we'll see how it shakes down. Let's look at that college football playoff rankings real quick, Dan. And when we look at those and we see there's not a whole lot there still. But I think pretty much anywhere that you have a one-loss or undefeated team, they're going to make the playoffs. Those top 7 teams, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech, Mississippi State, or excuse me, Ole Miss, and Oregon, I think they're locks. Now, Texas Tech is probably the questionable one because if they lose in the Big 12 championship, it could knock them out. BYU's a one-loss team, but they're at 11 right now. But again, if they win the Big 12, then a whole nother story there as well. We still got to get an ACC team in. So the winner of the ACC championship will be in the playoffs. I still don't understand why Georgia Tech is not higher than they are, but that is what it is. Then you got these other teams, Dad. You've got Oklahoma, who is they just need to finish the regular season. They just need to win out the regular season they're in. Notre Dame, same thing. Just got to win out the regular season they're in. Alabama is in probably one of the better spots of the SEC teams because they should not lose to Auburn. And so they're not going to have to play in the championship game, the SEC championship game. So they're not going to lose again. They're going to be a 2-loss team, and teams like maybe Oklahoma or Texas Tech or those kinds of teams that could lose, they could jump right over them pretty quick. BYU and Utah, 2 more Big 12 teams, but one of them won't make it because you have Tulane or James Madison, who's going to make it in from the group of 5 down there as well. And you just never know what's going to happen with some of these other teams. But, Dad, to me, there's not a lot of excitement right now because they have it ranked in a way that doesn't say, oh, it's all going to, this could happen, that could happen, this could happen. It feels a little bit more like, yeah, we're going to have the Big 12 champion. We're going to have the ACC champion. We're going to have the group of 5 team in. And then we're probably looking at, Alabama. We're probably looking at maybe a Vanderbilt gets in there. If they beat Tennessee, they do for sure get in there. So there's a little bit of intrigue. But to me, it's still kind of a little boring right now looking at these rankings. What are your thoughts on the playoff rankings?
Well, I like you said, I think in a lot of ways it's set. Interesting thing about it, to me, that throws a little wrench in it the way it's set up now is the conference tournaments. I understand why they have them because of money. As far as the way the playoffs are set up, to me, it's a super disadvantage to be in the playoffs if you're the team that loses or in the championship, because then you're going to have another loss. Like you said, there can be a team sitting there that's not playing. That's where Notre Dame has an advantage, had an advantage last year. They didn't have a conference championship game, so they ended up with a better record.
Well, Tennessee was that way last year too. Tennessee was a 2-loss team, didn't have to play in the championship game. They didn't risk that 3rd loss.
Right. So some of these teams, if they lose the championship game, is that going to drop them down? And it'll depend if these other teams, keep winning. You get a Vanderbilt team with 2 losses. Alabama could be affected by this, but probably not. BYU, teams like that moving up. So, we will see. There's going to be some big games for the last game of the year, different than usual. Tennessee Vanderbilt game is going to be a big game, but the Georgia Tech game is going to be very, very interesting. If Georgia Tech beats Georgia, that's got to take them way up in the rankings. There's just no doubt about it. I don't think that will happen necessarily because I think Georgia's very solid. And Georgia could probably still make the playoffs anyhow, but that's one game that's interesting. We're going to talk about our picks here in a little bit. I'm real intrigued with the Oregon USC game.
Yeah.
Oregon, Oregon's Oregon and they're at home, but they've had some games, it hasn't been as impressive. could they fall out? They're a name, so I don't know, but we will see. Texas Tech, they're going to have to keep winning, but they should, and they'll be, that's exciting to have a team like them in there. So overall, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Big 12 and the ACC, they hold the cards to the drama at this point. The Big 12's got 3 teams that are right there in the neighborhood. The champion gets in. Can they do something wacky where they get 2 teams in? I mean, there's a chance of it, not a high chance, but there's a chance of it. Needless to say, I know BYU's got a big matchup this week, which could boost them up a little bit. And then Utah, they've got Kansas State and Kansas to close out the year. And the ACC right now does not have a team in the top 12. So the winner of the ACC gets in. You're right. If Georgia Tech wins against Georgia, well, sure, they're in. You don't have to worry about that then, but they'll still have to play the ACC championship game. Would that then knock them out if they lost that? There is some drama, but to me, it's all around the Big 12 and the ACC, how that shakes out. We'll say a lot. We'll know a lot at the end of next week, at the end of the regular season. It'll then play out to, okay, this team has to win to make it. And there are going to be teams that are set, like the Big Ten. Whoever plays in the Big Ten championship, doesn't matter if they lose, they're still going to make the playoffs. So that's not going to be a problem. But there's still some intriguing things for sure out there. All right, let's get into our college football picks this week, Dad. We got 5 games to pick. Let's start with Missouri at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's a 7.5-point favorite here. Playing really good football. They are right there in the college football playoff hunt. They cannot afford to lose a game, though. And this is a losable game against Missouri. I'm taking the Sooners at home, but Missouri's a really good team, Dad. Do you go Missouri or Oklahoma in this game?
Well, I'll go with Oklahoma because that's who I'd be for, but they are at home and they do have things going in the right direction. And like you said, they really need this game. Missouri has become a good program, no doubt about it. But I think OU will hold on and have a shot at the playoffs here.
All right. So we're both on OU this week. Let's go down now to the game you just mentioned, USC at Oregon. Oregon at home is now up to a 10.5-point favorite. Number 7 in the nation, 9-1. But USC's been climbing. They're ranked 15. They only have 2 losses. A win against Oregon would almost certainly boost them up into the playoff conversation now as well. You think this is kind of an interesting and maybe dangerous game, Dad? Who are you taking in that one?
I thought about this one long and hard because I want to make, a good pick, but I'm going to go with the upset on this one for USC. It looks like they're playing well. They're a team that will not be intimidated at Eugene. And so we'll see. Oregon's a good team, no doubt about it, but I'm going to go with the Trojans.
Yeah, I'll stick with the home team in this one with Oregon. They have had their downfalls this year, even though they're only got 1 loss. They've had some really close games and haven't looked great in every game, but they're at that point now where it's a playoff game for them. And I think they win this game. So I'll go Oregon here. All right, let's go to the Big 12 next. TCU is traveling to Houston. Houston is only a 1.5-point favorite in this game. Houston ranked number 23 in the nation, 8-2 on the year. TCU is 6-4 on the year. Dad, are you going with another upset in Houston with TCU, or are you going to go with the Cougars?
I'm going to go with the home team with Houston, but this is dangerous. TCU, definitely has potential in this. So, we'll see. Houston's had a good year and they need this game. And I'll go with the home Cougars.
Yeah, TCU's coming off a beatdown when they played BYU last, lost 44-13. I'm surprised this line is so low, to be quite honest with you. I think it would make more sense to be around 4.5, 5.5, something like that. I'm going to go Houston at home as well. That one makes sense to me. All right, ACC play. You talked about Georgia Tech. They got a big game coming up against Georgia next week. Does that mean that maybe they overlook the battle this week? They're playing Pitt. They are at home, so Pitt traveling to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a 2.5-point favorite in this game, and Pitt has had a pretty good season. They're 7-3, but they've played teams really well also. So, Dad, does Georgia Tech overlook Pitt this week?
Yeah, I'll go with Georgia Tech, but this should be a really good football game. Pitt's played really well, but Georgia Tech has got themselves in a great position here, and they're at home. I definitely don't think they'll look past Pitt, but they're going to need this. So I'll go with Georgia, the Wreck at Georgia Tech.
All right, I'm with you on that one too. Georgia Tech at home is why I would go with them. All right, we're going to go back to the Big 12 then for our final game, and really a very similar game to that Pitt-Georgia Tech game is BYU at Cincinnati. Now, in this game, the favorite BYU is on the road. They're still 2.5-point favorite over Cincinnati, but they are not in their home confines this week. And BYU being a one-loss team, they've got to keep winning to keep their playoff hopes alive. So, Dad, can Cincinnati steal one at home this week, or are you going with BYU?
Well, I've been picking BYU pretty much all year, and so I'll stay with them. I am glad that the Bearcats are right down the road, and that they have really picked things up this year, no doubt about it. But BYU, they stay at one loss. That's going to be a sneaky situation. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going BYU also. Cincinnati, they've got their quarterback's decent. They are at home, but it's not really an intimidating home environment. So it's a beautiful stadium, by the way. Super nice media room up there, press box. But still, I'm going to go with BYU this week there, and they round out our college football picks. So we agree on everyone except for Oregon USC. You'll take USC in that one. I'll go Oregon. We both go Oklahoma. We both go Houston. We both go Georgia Tech. And we both go BYU this week. All right, Dad, let's roll over to the NFL now. And we'll dive right into our picks on this one, because kicking off in just about 2 hours is the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Davis Mills has been playing really good football in place of CJ Stroud. And the Texans defense is one of, if not the best defense in the league this season. The Buffalo Bills are coming off an interesting week because Josh Allen had all kinds of touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions in that game. And on the road in Houston, Buffalo is only a 5.5-point favorite coming into kickoff tonight, which is intriguing to say the least. So, Dad, Buffalo, Houston, Thursday night football. Who you picking?
I like the Texans. Buffalo confuses me, but I'm going to have to pick Buffalo. They've got a shot at, really staying in things in the division. They drop down much more. They're definitely not going to win their division. So we will see. The Texans have been just so up and down. The backup quarterback has played well, but, and they have a good defense, so it could go either way. But you got the good defense against arguably the best quarterback, so we will see. I'll go with the Bills.
Yeah, and Thursday, you have to throw Thursday night in there too. It's Thursday night. The games are never pretty on Thursday night. You can get in these kind of weird battles and stuff like that. But I'm with you. I don't see how you can pick against Buffalo tonight. Next week, CJ Stroud will be back, so Davis Mills can kind of play free, and we'll see how it shakes out. Maybe the Texans can scare them, but I'm picking Buffalo in this game also. All right, let's go to the other primetime games this week. Sunday night, Tampa Bay travels to Los Angeles to face the Rams. The Rams are a touchdown favorite in this game. The Bucs have been pretty beat up this season, still played decent football, and they're battling out the Carolina Panthers right now in that division. So they got to win to keep things rolling. But, Dad, can they win on the road against the Rams this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams. They're at home. They're playing well right now. I've been for them. I tried to be for the Bucs, but they've stumbled a little bit, and they are in a spot in the division. This could get real interesting. But yeah, I'm going to have to pick the Rams at home in this one.
Yeah, me too. The Rams, I said it a few weeks ago, but as long as Stafford's healthy, I don't think we can pick against them right now. The Rams are playing as good as anybody in the league. And so I'm definitely going with the Rams this week as well. 24 hours later, it's another battle between an NFC South and an NFC West opponent. The Carolina Panthers, the 6-5 Carolina Panthers, are playing the San Francisco 49ers there in the Bay. Dad, the 49ers are a touchdown favorite in this game. And I'm quite honestly a little surprised it's that high this week with the way the Panthers have been playing. Dad, are you going to go with the Panthers to continue to roll, or will the 49ers strike gold this week?
Well, this was the hardest game I had to pick of this bunch because Carolina, you don't know. They're really making a move here. But I'm going to go with the 49ers being at home. They're staying in the hunt in their division. And so we'll go with the Niners.
Well, I picked San Francisco too. Now that you picked them, I almost want to change my pick. Carolina, man, they've been playing so good right now. They're really coming into their own. Quarterback Bryce Young playing well. Rookie receiver and Tedero McMillan's playing great. Dowdle didn't have a great game last week, but he's had a really good season so far. The defense is playing decent. The 49ers, they looked good last week with Brock Purdy back. They're starting to get a little healthier. That's why I'm picking the 49ers this week, is because they aren't as banged up as they have been. And they're at home, so that helps too. All right, Dad, 3 more games this week to pick. Let's do this one. Indianapolis at Kansas City. The Colts, Danny Dimes, coming off a bye week. The Chiefs, 5-5 for like the first time ever, it seems like, and struggling to even make the playoffs. They're the 9th seed currently in the AFC. They are at home, and they're 3.5-point favorites at home. What do you think about Colts and Chiefs?
Well, I'm going to go with the Colts coming off the bye week. They've had time to prepare. I think they are the real deal. They've played. I understand, the quarterback had an issue today, so he's questionable. That would change things if something happened there. But overall, the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs. I like Mahomes. I like Holmgren. Or like Andy Reid, the coach there, and but the Chiefs are in trouble, and this is going to be a tough game. So I'll pick the Colts, but I'm figuring Daniel Jones is going to play when I do that.
Yeah, well, 3.5 points. That's still what Vegas thinks too. I'm going to go Kansas City, and here's why. Kansas City Chiefs, we've seen it throughout the last couple of years. They kind of coast through the regular season and then turn it on in the playoffs. Well, they no longer have a regular season. Every game they play from here on out is a playoff game for Kansas City. So at home, the Colts, the bye week should help them, but it actually kind of worries me a little bit, maybe out of rhythm a little bit coming into this week. So I'm going to go Kansas City in this game. And I think that we learn a lot about Kansas City this week. Dad, their defense is the lowest scoring defense in the league. They're allowing the least amount of points. And that's going to add up at some point. So I'm going to go Kansas City this week. All right, let's go to the Vikings and the Packers. It is in Green Bay this week. J.J. McCarthy, Jordan Love. The Packers are now at a 6-point advantage, favorites at the moment. Dad, into this going into this week. I know we're not going to pick the Vikings in this game, but we're going Packers. But how do you feel how close this game is going to be?
Yeah, I'll go with the Packers in this. The Packers have been a little head scratching, but I think they're, as they get more people healthy, I don't think they'll have Jaden Reed this week. That's going to help when they do get him back. I do think Jacobs will be able to play, but the the defense here has got a rookie quarterback to go after, and I think the defense will give him a hard time there. And it's at home. The Packers need to win this. Yeah. They need to win these division games. They're in really good shape if they can. And Minnesota's been a little up and down. So again, I'm not going to pick the Vikings anyhow, but I do think the Packers can win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. All right, the last one we're picking this week is a 3:25 kickoff. Not the game of the week. They're going head-to-head against the Eagles and Cowboys, but it's Atlanta at New Orleans. A battle for the number 1 overall draft pick, possibly, in the NFL draft. Kirk Cousins versus Tyler Shuck. This is what we've been waiting for all season long. New Orleans, 2.5-point favorites this week at home. I think this is probably the first time they've been a favorite all season. Dad, are you going with the home favorites, the Saints, or the road dogs and maybe some Kirk Cousins magic this week?
I'll go with the home Saints. I think they've got as good a chance as the Falcons do. You don't know what's going to happen there. There's going to be a real coaching question there in Atlanta. Yeah. The Saints, they've won a couple games. Like I said, a lot of these teams are really messing up their first draft pick, but we'll see. The Saints, I'll go with the Saints in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Saints care if they get the first overall draft pick because I don't think they're drafting quarterback this year. So for them, it is all about getting better. It's all about winning the football games. The Falcons obviously want to win too, but Kirk Cousins looks washed. Drake London's probably out. Bijan Robinson is still great. He could win the game maybe single-handedly. But I'm going New Orleans also. I really thought you would go Atlanta in this one. So I was excited, but you went the Saints. I'm going the Saints also. I think this is a big game. I think this is a big game for the future of the Saints. To see what Tyler Shuck can do. Maybe he comes out and has a good game. There's just hope that's kind of implanted in this team right now. And I'm going New Orleans in this one also. All right, Dad, let's talk about our survivor pick this week. Last week we both hit on it correctly. And our survivor pick, this is one we give you each and every week to help you win your survivor pool throughout the season. It is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky's Soul Survivor flavor. It's a Korean barbecue flavor. It's top 3 on my list, and it's phenomenal. You can find it at righteousfelon.com. And if you use the promo code STOVE15 at checkout, you're going to get 15% off your purchase as well. All right, Dad, who are we picking this week for our survivor picks?
Well, I finally got back on the winning side last week and helped people out a little bit. It came down to 3 games on this one, and to me, the safest one is New England over Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati, it is at home, but it's about done. New England playing great football.
Yeah.
They've got the chance to control their division, and so there's no reason for them to lose this one.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I've already picked the Patriots, so I couldn't pick that one. So, Dad, I'm going to go with the road favorites, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are traveling to Arizona to play the Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett. And although Brissett's had some decent moments, the Cardinals stink. And so of all my options, I looked at the Raiders. Could they beat the Browns? I looked at the Browns. Could they beat the Raiders? I looked at the Saints even possibly this week as my survivor pick. But ultimately, I feel like the Jaguars are the best option for me to pick with all the teams I've already used. So I'm going Jacksonville this week against Arizona. All right, let's run through some of these games real quick, Dad. Steelers, Bears. Aaron Rodgers is doing everything he can to get on the field for this game. I'm not sure that he will or not. But either way, doesn't matter if Aaron Rodgers is on the field in this game. The Bears playing really good football, 7-3. The Steelers are trying to hang on to their division there as well. So how do you think that Steelers-Chicago game goes?
Well, I think it really all has to do with whether Aaron Rodgers plays or not. I think if he plays, then I think the Steelers can win. If not, the Bears probably will. Let's talk about the Bears just a minute, because you've been very positive about them. And of course, I don't like anything about the Bears. But as I started looking at this, and I thought I was right, and I was, they've won 7 games. They haven't beat anybody with a winning record. 5 of those 7 wins have been very, very close wins. They blew out the Cowboys and they blew out the Saints. But that's been it. And now they've got 6 out of their last 7 games against teams with a winning record. So we will see how improved the Bears are. They've got a good record now, and the fans are, I'm sure, in euphoria. And whatever the case may be, they've got the greatest coach and all that kind of stuff. But you can only beat who you play.
Right.
So I understand that, but the 7 wins have been against teams with losing records. And I think that does make a little bit of a difference. But this game, they could win this one. It's at home. But if Aaron Rodgers is there, he'll be in their head. And they can, they'll have a chance about this. And, he probably still owns them.
I don't want to give our listeners the wrong impression. I don't think I've been very positive about the Bears. I said they would be improved this year. I said they would be an 8-win team. And, well, they're a 7-win team right now, so I think 8 wins is very possible. I do think Ben Johnson's a good coach, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. You say, well, they only blew out the Cowboys. The Packers couldn't even beat the Cowboys. So you got to give them a little credit for that as well. Caleb Williams is playing better. He needs to continue to improve. The run game, they've got to that'll be something they address this offseason. They got to get better at running back. But the young receivers have been very good. The O-line's been fine. But you're right. I still would not put money on the Bears to win the division. This gauntlet they got to go through at the end of the year is not easy. Could they make the playoffs? Sure. But I still don't think they win the division. I think they got 3 division games coming up here in this final games. I think you said, or 3 or 4 division games left. I think it's 3. But either way, the Bears it'll be a tough go for them the rest of the way. All right. We talked about Patriot Bengals. You did, at least, in the survivor pick. I agree with you on that. Giants and Lions. Dad, the Lions, man, a lot of question marks around them. But again, the Giants are so beat up. I got to think the Lions win at home this week. But again, they might be looking ahead to Thanksgiving week. This could be a trap game for Detroit, Dad. Does the Giants have a chance against Detroit?
Yeah, I'll go with the Lions, but you're right. It is a trap game. The Giants have good defense. In some ways, they're playing well. They have a good defensive line, at least. And, if they can control Detroit's running game, that's always a big step. But Detroit, is a good team, and they should win this. So.
Yeah, we got a few lopsided games. Seahawks at Titans. Seahawks should take that, no problem. Jets at Ravens. The Jets are so bad, Dad, but the Ravens haven't been that good either. But we got to believe the Ravens will win that one. I do want to talk about Browns Raiders. Shedeur Sanders gets his first start. He looked horrendous coming off the bench last week. But they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders stink. The Browns defense is really good. What do you expect to see in the Cleveland-Las Vegas game this week?
Well, the Browns, defense is really good. The Browns keep the coach. I'll be shocked. I don't understand some of the things that he's doing. The Shedeur Sanders, I don't understand this. If he was a guy that had a chance, then they should have given him a chance earlier. From there, he's in a spot now. He didn't, like you said, he didn't look good last week. He is get a shot to play against the Raiders, so we'll see. But if he comes out and has a good game, it's only going to confuse things even more. I don't, from that end. I don't know why they ever picked him if they weren't going to pick him early. But we will see. I'm not against Shadar Sanders. He may end up being if he got somewhere where somebody could work with him and he had a system. I mean, he can throw the ball, no doubt about it. So we will see. But the Browns should win this one just because of the defense. But yeah. I need Genty to get back on track here.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And then Eagles, Cowboys. Eagles are 8-2, but I just don't think they've looked good at all. Cowboys, of course, they don't look good either most of the time, but they've gotten healthy all of a sudden too, Dad. So I don't know. Thoughts on Eagles and Cowboys this week?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Eagles in some ways haven't looked real good, but they do keep winning. And this is the ultimate division game. So the Eagles, Eagles can really play defense. And so I think the Eagles would win. When I looked at my survivor picks, I looked at this game, and I also did look at the Jaguar game that you picked. The Jaguars, my goodness, this would be great if they can turn things around. But, I'm really surprised with what they're doing and hope they keep doing well. But definitely for the Eagles over the Cowboys, and I think there's good reason to think that's how it'll come out.
Well, I'll be cheering for the Cowboys. I'd like the Eagles to throw a few losses on that record and maybe open up the top of that division or the conference a little bit up there. So I'll be cheering for the Cowboys in that one, but not holding my breath, needless to say, in that game as well. All right, so me and Dad have not talked about next week yet. Next week is Thanksgiving, and my plan next week is to kind of focus in on the NFL games, and we'll cover some college stuff too, but we'll talk more about the playoff races and the implications coming up, things like that in the NFL in the coming weeks as well. Make sure you follow us on social media at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram, and jump over to our YouTube channel, the Sports Stove YouTube channel. We're dropping draft content over there. Today, we dropped the linebacker preview for the 2026 draft. Tomorrow, we've got cornerbacks coming out, and Saturday safeties are coming out as well. And then we've got some big stuff planned for down the road as well. So jump over to the Sports Stove YouTube, subscribe over there. The audio version of this podcast and all those draft shows are on the Sports Stove Football Show podcast. And our Thursday episodes always go up on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel as well. And you can catch all our past Thursday episodes there also. Dad, anything else you want to cover before we head out today?
No, like I said, a lot of excitement going on, and the NFL, you just never know from week to week what's going to happen. And I think that we'll probably have surprises this week also, and a lot of good college football games. So we'll be good to go. Looking forward to Thanksgiving. Anytime with the Packers playing on Thanksgiving will be fun, and that'll be be bigger if we can beat the Vikings this week. So.
Very true. Very true. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this edition of the Sports Stove Football Show. We'll see you next week. Until then, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.